loading. I think you're good, Nicole.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fieldhouse Museum's speaker series. Today I am very excited to introduce Robert Chaplin. He is a Canadian artist and publisher based out of Vancouver, Canada. So we've gone international this time. Mr. Chaplin holds the world record, the Guinness World Record for the smallest published book. And we're excited today because he's going to tell us more about that. But first, besides being the smallest book artist, Mr. Chaplin is an artist in other ways too. He does a lot of jewelry creating, sculpting, writing, and is also a well-known children's book author. In 2000, just recently, Brussels Sprouts and Unicorns, one of his books, won the, I can't really say this,
it won the award for best kids book. It won the award for best kids book design in Canada. That's it. That's all we got.
So I will go ahead then and turn it on over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Hi, I'm Robert Chaplin, and I published the world's smallest book, and I'm going to show you the Guinness World Record, because that's what you do when you have a Guinness World Record. You show people. Sometimes when they come to your studio, you let them hold it. Then they can be Guinness World Record holders. See, that's a Guinness World Record right there. See, for the world's smallest book. I did that. Anyways, that was quite a while ago I did that. But anyways, at some point I published a large print edition, which the Fieldhouse Museum has in their bookshop, which is awesome because you guys can get it for your book collections. And this is what that looks like. See, this is Teeny Ted from Turnip Town. Right, and this is the first page. It shows all the science, so it explains the difference between atoms and ions, and it says how to use a focused ion beam to make the world's smallest book. And this is a scanning electron micrograph image of it. Now I'm going to take you out in the hallway and show you what the world's smallest book actually looks like if you want to see the real scanning electron micrograph images. So I can show you that right now. But I have to go out into the hallway of the building because that's where I set it up, because I needed a whole wall to put it on. So the world's smallest book in a 5x6 array of tablets, it fits comfortably on the cross section of a human hair. And so this is a 5x6 array of tablets on my wall at my studio, and you can see that it takes up quite a lot of space. When you blow it up big. And scanning electron micrograph images are awesome because you can take pictures of things that light is too fat to take pictures of. So you use an electron and you shower it with electrons, and then the electrons bounce back, and the information that they get looks like a photograph, but it's a scanning electron micrograph image. And this is the world's smallest book, or it's a scanning electron micrograph image of the world's smallest book. And this screefy line looks like, or it was carved with a fine point diamond. I just put an X on the silicon chip so that I could locate the world's smallest book when I turn on the microscope. So these are all the little tablets. Now I've blown them up bigger so you can see them. And they actually say things. Like this says, Teeny Ted from Turnip Town, a success story by Malcom Chaplin. Oh yeah, my brother wrote the book, and I designed it and published it. And I designed it using Microsoft Paint, and then I used that to program the focused ion beam. So this says, Teeny Ted from Turnip Town is dedicated, or by Malcom Chaplin, copyright ADMMVII. That means 2007. And this says Teeny Ted from Turnip Town is dedicated to the victors. And this says Teeny Ted from Turnip Town was standing in the street singing his favorite turnip tune and tapping with his feet. Turnips, 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 turnips all around. Turnips are the way of life here in Turnip Town. Teeny Ted from Turnip Town lived on Greenleaf Road, and he grew the biggest turnips, all of which he sold. And every year on June 16th, there was a county fair, and teeny Ted from Turnip Town surely would be there. Turnips, 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 turnips all around. Turnips are the way of life here in Turnip Town. And teeny Ted, and every year at the fair, there was a turnip contest. Farmers came from miles around to show their very best. Teeny Ted from Turnip Town would surely win a prize because his contest turnip was simply huge in size. Turnips, turnips, turnips. They will win first prize for me because my homegrown turnips are the biggest, can't you see? When the turnip contest judge had made his final choice, he announced the winner of first prize with a happy voice. The winner of first place is for certain no surprise. He grew the biggest turnip underneath the skies. His turnip is the envy of everyone in all the land. Could teeny Ted from Turnip Town come up and shake my hand? Now, teeny Ted from Turnip Town ran up to claim his prize, and as he shook the judge's hand, tears welled in his eyes. Turnips, 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 they won first prize for me because my homegrown turnips are the biggest, can't you see? Turnips, 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 they're a tasty treat for me, raw, cooked, or even brewed into a cup of tea. Turnips, 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 they're quite a sight to see, fatty ones and skinny ones and those as big as me. Turnips, turnips, turnips. Turnips all around. Turnips are the way of life here in Turnip Town. The end. And then there's publisher's notes where I discuss the ISBN number and how it was typeset and all of that stuff. On page 15, there's a bit of GAC right there. You can see something that's a piece of dust that's on the scanning or on the microchip, and that piece of dust is 500 nanometers across. A nanometer is a millionth of a millimeter, and teeny Ted from Turnip Town was carved at a line resolution. The lines around the letters at 42 nanometers, and that piece of dust on page 15 is about 500 nanometers across. And I couldn't blow it off the chip without contaminating the chip beyond readability. So that's an overview of teeny Ted from Turnip Town and what it looks like. And then if you want to see what a microchip looks like, the chip that it's carved on, the actual surface of teeny Ted from Turnip Town, it's not much you can see with a camera. You need a scanning electron microscope, but I can show you the chip that it's on because I have it in a sample box. So in this box, you can see find out where, oh, there it is. You can see it's on that, in that sample box on that sample holder. And that's the chip that teeny Ted from Turnip Town is carved on. So that's what I got there. And that's the information about teeny Ted from Turnip Town. Do you have any questions?
No questions right now. Why don't you, can you tell us a little bit more about how you came up with the idea for doing a book this small and the process about going and creating it, getting, I guess, permission for to use the laser?
Well, we didn't use a laser. We used a scanning electron, a focused ion beam, which isn't a laser. It's more like a shotgun that's that shoots out ions. Now, an ion is an atom that's had its, or it's a positively charged ion is an atom that's had its charge changed. So it's no longer it can be so if it's a positive atom, then it's charged negatively, then it's an ion. So, or if it's a negatively charged atom and it's charged positively, then it's a positively charged ion. So that's how that happens. You get that way, I think, by removing a proton. Anyways, so that's how that works. But I got to use the equipment because I was making carvings. This is a carving I did. It's a railroad spike that I carved into a knife. And see, I carved it, and I carved a skull on the end of it. But I was making carvings, and physicists were buying my carvings and liked them, and they were coming to my drawing shows and looking at my drawings, like the ones on the ceiling, and buying those. So it seemed that they offered me a chance to come up to Simon Fraser to do something with the focused ion beam. And the scanning electron microscope. So I looked at the focused ion beam equipment, and I was like, wasn't any way I could get my hands into it. So I had to learn how to program the beam, and it seemed that if once I figured out that the beam read bitmap files, then I programmed it with dpaint, which was kind of like using a caveman technology to work on a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment. But it seemed to work fine. And then that's how we made the world's smallest book. Any other questions?
How did you even get your start into doing all of sculpting and art and writing kids' books? Was there any particular event in your life that kind of started everything, or you just always been?
It all started from drawing. Like I draw every day, and I've drawn every day since I was 5 years old. So it all started from drawing, and then it worked out from there. So, and then I published my first kids book with Chronicle Books in San Francisco. It was called Alien Alphabet, and that was in the early 90s. And then I worked as an animator for a few years after that. And then I did my own books after that. And I did a few different titles, which you can see at libraryeditions.com. I don't know, the first book I published independently was a pack of matches with an ISBN number on it. It's a really, really appropriate kids book because kids love playing with matches, or at least I did when I was a kid. So see, this is the match book, Fireside Fable, which has the story of the fable on the inside. See, it has a fable, and it also has an illustration of the fire, and it has a disclaimer on the back with enough legalese to choke an ox. There, that's the matchbook. So any other questions?
So I guess with the matchbook, you can actually light the matches?
Oh yeah, it's a fully functioning matchbook. You could use it to burn big books you don't want to read. Like Moby Dick.
Oh, that's a long one. Can you tell us more about some of your other ones, like Brussels sprouts and unicorns?
Yeah, let me find it. I'll find a copy of that really easy here. I know that I put one. I put some stuff out so I'd be able to find it.
And I think I saw somewhere you made a solid silver Brussels sprout.
I did, but I don't have it right now, but I also made one in rose gold, which I do have. I can show you that. I made a solid gold Brussels sprout in rose gold. Rose gold is interesting. That's gold alloyed with copper. And when you alloy gold with copper, it makes it red. And that's how you make rose gold. So instead of alloying the gold with, and if you want to make white gold, you alloy it with nickel. And if you want to make yellow gold, you alloy it with silver and a little bit of copper. So that's how you make different alloyed gold. So here's the solid rose gold Brussels sprout. See? I carved all the leaves on it, and I don't know if that's in focus. Can you tell me if that's in focus?
It looks pretty in focus to me.
So that's the world's smallest Brussels sprout, or that's the solid rose gold Brussels sprout. It's quite heavy. And then in Brussels sprouts and unicorns, I have the Brussels sprout testimonial, because this book has testimonial evidence of Brussels sprouts and proof of the existence of unicorns. See, Brussels sprouts and unicorns. Sing and shout and dance about, there's magic in a Brussels sprout. Boiled up and served in butter, baked into a pie. I love to eat the Brussels sprout, to go without would make me cry. Have faith and never ever doubt, there's magic in the Brussels sprout. In cheese sauce or in minestrone, I will stand and testify. I love to eat the Brussels sprout, to go without, I'd rather die. It says my name, I spelt my name wrong on the Instagram, or on my thing here, on this window. I forgot the C. And this has got the bees. Sneezy bees sneeze and smoky bees wheeze. Hungry bees eat peas and dirty bees have fleas. Busy bees pollinate the flowers in the trees, and loving bees propose upon their knees. Polite bees say please and thank you. We got the true story of the 3 pigs in their insurance settlement. Do you know that one?
Oh my, I have not heard that one, but
Once upon a time, at a time when livestock had property rights, there lived 3 pigs, each owned land and built houses. The stupidest pig built a straw house, which blew down in the first big storm. The insurance adjuster just shrugged and cut the straw house pig a nice fat check. When the stick house pig heard about the insurance, he had an accidental fire. Then the 2 homeless pigs moved in with the brick house pig. The mortgage got paid real fast. The moral of the story is insurance helps to ease the pain of loss. Brick house. It's a true story. And we got the true legend of Gassy Jack. And we got this little piggy made bacon, and this little piggy made ham, this little piggy made pork chops, and this little piggy made spam. See, he's got 2 heads. He's genetically modified. And we got the Emperor's New Clothes with no illustrations for obvious reasons. And we got the Princess and the Pea, and we got the octopus. And the mussels. And baking. And we got the world's shortest fairy tale. Once upon a time, everyone lived happily ever after. The end. Any other questions?
yeah, we have some coming in. We have a question of, have you ever worried about losing it? And I'm not sure if that's in reference to the teeny
The
tiny.
world's smallest book. Yeah, I lost it one time.
Where did you lose it?
It was in it stayed in the sample box. I mean, it's so small that I could lose it in the dust lint in my pocket, but it's in the sample box, but I lost the sample box, and I spent like 3 days tearing my apartment apart trying to find it. And it was the sample box was stuck in an old iPhone case at the very back of the closet. So that really happened. That was terrifying.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, people phone me and they were, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm looking for the world's smallest book."
And,
that was real.
Another question is, would you say that you're primarily an artist, or how do you describe yourself?
I make stuff that nobody needs. I guess that's art. I publish books too, and draw some pictures, and write stories and make carvings. So yeah, I describe myself as a full service fine artist.
Do you have any other projects in the works? Or are you going to try and tackle the world's largest book?
The world's largest book. I have that in my safe. I can show you. World's largest book. Maybe it's not in the safe. Maybe it's in the filing cabinet, the library filers. I did the world's largest book already. It's called Cosmologia Universalis, and it's the world's largest book. It's carved on a rock. I figured if you had to put if you were going to publish the universe, you'd have to put the ISBN number on something. So I stuck it on a rock, and then I figured maybe I would launch it into outer space someday. But then I realized that we actually are already in outer space. That's true.
Yes. How can a rock be a book?
It has an ISBN on it, an international standard book number. And if you have an international standard book number on anything, a pack of matches or a toilet plunger or anything else, it qualifies as being a book because it could be filed in a legal deposit library because it has an international standard book number. I know that we often think of a book as a collection of pages bound on one side, and then and that flip. But that formula for making a book is only goes back 3,000 years. If you go back further than that, you get scrolls, and if you go back a little bit further than that, you get clay tablets, and those are considered books. And if you look at old cuneiform clay tablets, it looks a lot like the writing that's on Teeny Ted from Turnip Town. And those are carved on silicon microchip. It's micro tablets.
We have another question. Have you ever
This is
thought
the
about?
world's largest book. See, the
Okay.
ISBN is on it. It's on something in the universe. There's an ISBN is on there. The universe is very large, so I had to put the ISBN on something.
Have you ever thought about making books shaped like Brussels sprouts?
Maybe. I already published the Brussels sprout testimonial in Brussels sprouts and unicorns, and I already make Brussels sprouts. This is a dimensional illustration. So I guess I haven't figured that I would carve an ISBN actually on the Brussels sprout, but I could. Then it would be published.
Why a Brussels sprout of all vegetables?
I've done other vegetables too, like I did a carrot, but the Brussels sprout is the first thing I did because I'm comfortable carving things about the size of a chicken egg and or smaller and casting them in gold and silver. And anything bigger than that would be really, really expensive to produce. I mean, making a solid gold Brussels sprout already is like 4 1/4 ounces of gold finished, so it's quite expensive. But a Brussels sprout is the only thing that size which people are divided equally on. I mean, people love them or they love to hate them. There's not too much middle ground with Brussels sprouts, and I figured anything that divisive would be an interesting subject.
Sort of like pineapple on pizza.
Right, exactly. People either love it or they love to hate it. My brother's like, no fish, no fruit.
And we have another question. So for you, would the primary characteristic of a book be the conveyance of information in some way? Does it have to be written information, or do you think that a line between book and art might be arbitrary?
The line between book and anything is arbitrary. If you stick an ISBN on anything, you can call it a book. I think conveying information is important for and the reason why we publish stuff in the first place is to disseminate information at an age when that gets done by way of all manner of computer stuff. It would seem redundant. Yeah, so you could put it, I mean, even the whole process of putting an ISBN on something is just a bit cheeky. You could, and you can publish a book, but you don't have to. You can also just send an email to everybody, or you could do a story and publish it online. As just you could animate it, or you could film yourself telling it, and put it on a YouTube video. I mean, there's lots of ways to convey information at this point. I hope that answers the question.
I hope so too. I remember when we had talked earlier, you told me the story about how Teeny Ted became a world record and how you went about that. Could you share that again for everyone watching?
What, the story of who's your boss anyways?
I think you told me that you went through, in order to get the world record for the smallest book, there was a process that you went through.
Yeah, I call that story "Who's Your Boss Anyways." So there's ways that you're supposed to get a Guinness World Record. Like, you're supposed to tell them that you want to break the record for the world's largest pancake, and then you attempt to do it, and you record that, and you pay Guinness some money, and they'll fly a guy out to actually measure the pancake and say that it was in fact the world's largest pancake, and then you would get congratulated and you'd get the certificate because you broke the record. But I didn't see any need to do that. I just made the thing and then reported how small it was. And then Guinness eventually caught on to that, and they gave me a record and put it in one of the books. And then a friend of mine's kid saw it and told me about it, and so I found out about it. And they had done the record, but they hadn't given me any credit. They just named the book project and said that it was the smallest book. And so I wanted to get a hold of them and get my certificate and stuff. So it's impossible to get through to the Guinness World Record people. They've got a system in place which is impossible for people to get through. They've got, I guess it's called a firewall. And so in order to get around their firewall, I had to find out who owned the Guinness World Record, and it turned out to be a local businessman in Vancouver named Jimmy Pattison. And he owns the Guinness World Records, and he owns Ripley's Believe It or Not. And so I contacted his office, and then one of his assistants put me through to the people at the Guinness World Record place, and they gave me my certificates and everything. Is that the story you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you have to figure out, if you can't get through the firewall of a large corporation, you find out what corporation owns them, talk to the boss of that corporation, and then get your concern directed directly to the people who can do good. That's it for that story.
Have you done any other miniature type things, smallest toilet plunger or things along those lines?
I've never done the smallest toilet plunger, but I did publish a toilet plunger. And if you Google double dingle jingle plunger, I'm sure it will come up. That was the toilet plunger that I published. But it's an actual size toilet plunger. Well, it's a small size one that's used for doing sinks, for plunging sinks. But it's still the double dingle jingle plunger.
Since the previous record holder was local, have you ever spoken to him about, or I don't know, waved in the space that you broke his world record?
Pardon?
You said that the previous world record holder for the smallest book was local to you, correct?
No. The guy who owns Guinness World Records is local to me.
Okay.
The owner of Guinness World Records lives in Vancouver.
So have you ever met him in person, or?
I maybe saw him once in an elevator. He's super old. He's an old guy, and he's a really successful businessman. His name's Jimmy Pattison, and he's really interesting. I like him. He's good.
Do you have a favorite piece of art with you or in the studio there?
Oh, something that I made?
Yeah. What's the thing you like the most that you've created? Do you have a favorite piece?
I don't have a favorite piece. I'm working on a 12-foot salmon right now. See, I'm carving it out of styrofoam. But I kind of, my favorite piece is whatever I'm working on right now. But I can show you a piece that I did a long time ago, which is a book review, which is quite nice. I did a book review for an old book that was published in 1484. So this is a book review for a book called the Malleus Maleficarum, which was the Catholic law regarding the Inquisition. And the title means witch hammer. And I thought, which hammer? So I carved this hammer. See, there's a head carved on it and the horns made out of the claws. And then I put an 18 karat gold bezel on it and a blood red garnet in there. And that's a jewelry for ladies' home defense. That's a good piece. I did that.
Just out of curiosity, if you were to use the hammer to strike anything, would the garnet hold up or would it shatter?
You wouldn't use that. That's not the business end. Right? The business end of this hammer is decidedly perverse. Right? You would snap the garnet and wreck the gold bezel, but the business end for ladies' home defense is this end. Right? Because if you gunch someone on the head with it, you can get some good leverage and probably crack out some brains.
Have you done any other defense artwork? I guess.
Maybe. I was carving an axe head. I haven't finished it yet. It's for beating deep blue at chess. See, where's my thing here? Flip the camera around. See, it's an axe head, but I'm carving it into a chess axe. It's for beating deep blue at chess. You can use it for hacking the motherboard on a chess or on a chess computer. And that way you beat the computer at chess without actually having to do anything smart, like play chess well.
Now, axes are pretty hard. How do you go about carving that? Is there a process you have to go through with like
Carving steel? I carve axes about the same hardness as the hammer, so I carve it with high-speed dental drill and diamonds. Actually, one of my favorite pieces of art is a Lego chess set I made. There's a picture of Gary Kasparov playing with my Lego chess set.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a chess master. He was the first living human chess master that got defeated by the machine. They programmed a machine called Deep Blue with all of Kasparov's past games. So he was playing the very best version of himself, and it beat him.
I'm sure when your axe is finished, it could beat the computer too.
Yeah, I could beat a computer with my axe already. It's not even finished yet. I could beat my iPhone with it. I can beat I can beat any computer with it. I can defeat any computer permanently.
Can you tell us more about your ceiling?
Sistine Chaplin, that's a collection of drawings that I've been making for a long time. I just make a drawing and stick it up there, and make another one, stick it up there. I used to do a drawing show every 5 years, and I would sell the drawings cheaply. And then what was left over after 5 years of doing it were a few. So I hung them up on the ceiling so people could see them in my studio. I sell them to people to buy 3, get 1 free for limited time only while supplies last.
Do the pictures ever end up appearing then in any of your books, or?
Some of them are pictures. Some of them are pictures that were later put in books that I put in books, like in Delicious Chicken Soup, which is a book I did that is a recipe for making delicious chicken soup. It's a 32-page book with one recipe. I have these drawings in it, which are spring chicken and spring flowers, and spring chicken in late winter. So the drawings sometimes make it into books. You know, because when you're drawing and writing, sometimes they come together.
So, I guess, what brought you to use books as a medium for your as a medium to channel your love for fine art?
Well, I mean, an obvious way for people to get a piece of your mind priced in a mercantile way is by way of a book. Like that sounds cold, but I mean, I became a publisher because I wanted to do it myself, and I wanted to be in control of the process. So I guess I was drawn to the idea of disseminating my thoughts and ideas about things in a way that was accessible to people. Right? Books are very accessible. They're not expensive, really, compared to like buying paintings or sculptures. I guess that's it. That's one reason.
I noticed in the books, including in the Teeny Ted, that most of the letters are capitalized with the exception of I. Why are the I's all lowercase?
Oh, because when you see type well, actually in Teeny Ted it's like that, except for in the pages that have the science in it, like these pages, it's all normally typeset, right, with normal uppercase and lowercase letters. But I use lowercase i's when I typeset an entire block of type, because the lowercase i's sparkle on the page, nicely. And they're the same height. A lowercase I is the same height as an uppercase I. So it will follow in line with the other letters. And I use all uppercase letters because that way I can do very clear leading in between each line. It's a design choice, really.
That's really neat. We have another question from Facebook. What is your favorite?
Out of all the books I've ever read, my favorite book out of all the books I've ever read is Rutabaga Stories by Carl Sandburg. But my favorite book that I published is 10 Counting Cat. But I mean, I really like Teeny Ted from Turnip Town too, because it got me a Guinness World Record. And I published it, but I didn't write it. My brother wrote it. The favorite book I wrote was 10 Counting Cat, which is a story of a cat counting birds. And I'll find a copy of it here. 10 Counting Cat. And 10 Counting Cat has been made into a movie too. I made a movie out of it, which you can watch on, 10 Counting Cat. Ten Counting Cat. Copycats are dirty rats. Cat is happy. Bird is dead. Bird is flying overhead. Cat has two birds. They are dead. Bird is singing. Cat hears sound. Three dead birds lay on the ground. And it goes on like that until the end. And I won't tell you what happens after the end. But you can watch the movie, 10 Counting Cat, the motion picture. It's on Vimeo.
I'll sure look it up.
10 Counting Cat, the motion picture on Vimeo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil the ending.
And someone asked, why was Rutabaga Stories your favorite?
It's really well written. It's magical. And it's Carl Sandburg was a great American writer. You're probably familiar with him.
Yeah.
And Rutabaga Stories is one of the most whimsical things he wrote. I mean, he was a poet, and he also got the Pulitzer Prize for his biography of Abraham Lincoln. So he did stuff that was more serious, but Rutabaga Stories is decidedly whimsical.
Is there anything, I guess, else that you would want to share with us, or?
I don't know. Do you have any other questions about the world's smallest book?
Not on Facebook, but
This is a buckskin whincher. I reverse engineered it from reading a story that Carl Sandburg wrote in Rutabaga Stories. You can use it to, it's like a fidget spinner, but you can use it to get wound up, or you can use it to unwind. And it's carved out of bronze with sterling silver winching posts. It's a small machine. Carl Sandburg's Rutabaga Stories has lots of good ideas in it.
okay. For, I guess, going back to the world's smallest book, you had shown us pictures of like the different size and the scales, everything on the bottom for the science part. Can you explain more about like what these different numbers mean at the bottom?
Yeah, I can explain that. They're all explained. They're all explained on the They're all explained on the last 2 pages of Ted from Turnip Town. It explains these numbers and how they're used. And these are the explanations for them. So if you read the book, you can see there's spot. This is the size of the electron beam. There's the mag, 6.5 to 0kx. This is the magnification. The number before x is the amount of magnification. The FWD 5.104 is the forward working distance. The E beam is the electron beam. The tilt is the angle of the object being magnified. And the DET SED is the secondary electron detector. This detects the electrons knocked up from the surface. And then HFW is the horizontal field width, the width of the area you can see in the scanning electron micrograph image. And the scale bar helps you to understand the size. So those are all of the detailed information on the bottom of a scanning electron micrograph image.
So if someone were to take the original, the microchip, and they were to put it in to underneath the microscope, would they then use those numbers to kind of calculate in so they'd be able to read it, or is there a different process to focus in?
Well, what you do is called, when you put it in put an object in a scanning electron microscope, you put it in a chamber that vents all of the that vents everything out. It's a vacuum chamber, and then you look at it and you magnify it. But what you're doing is you're not shining light on it to see it. You're showering the surface with electrons, and so you can see where the electrons are bouncing back. It looks like a gray sort of shaking pixely thing, and then because I put that large screef on the bottom, that crosshairs that you could see in the big picture, I can see that first, and then that allows me to locate my scanning electron, or my focused ion beam carving, if that makes sense. The numbers that are on the bottom are the reading that you get once you've tuned the beam. So once you've tuned the electron beam, then you can then you'll be in focus. Because you're not looking at it with light, you're looking at it by showering the surface with electron beams, and then the computer reads the electrons that bounce back. Because the carving width is too small for light to get into the carving, only electrons get in. Photons are too fat.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so the electrons are smaller than photons.
Would you ever try and make something even smaller? Like if your world record got beat, would you go back and try and beat the new one?
No way. I would let the next person who does it enjoy the success of being a Guinness World Record holder, because they can't take the record away from me. Even if someone else beats it, they get a record. I still have my record on the wall. I still did it.
Okay.
I don't need to do it again. I don't feel the need to do it again.
Would you attempt a different record? Or create a new record?
Maybe, but not in any serious way. I've done it. That's enough. I mean, like, when you're a little kid and you're looking at the Guinness Book of World Records thinking, wow, it'd be really great to get a Guinness World Record, and try and put on the most sweaters or whatever you try and do to win the record. I mean, is it like stand on my head for the longest time or whatever? You start doing stunts to try and get in the Guinness Book of World Records. You only have to do that once in your life.
Do you have any advice to anyone who sets out to do art or create miniatures or do something completely? I don't know how many would have thought of using creating a book that's smaller than the width of a hair.
Well, I mean, you should do whatever you want. I mean, my advice is you should, like, if you want to draw pictures, draw lots of pictures. Get good at it. If you want to if you want to write books, well, then write stories and get good at it, work at it so you get good at it, and then you can keep doing it.
A question came through. What is your next life goal?
I want to finish my 12-foot salmon, but there's other things. I don't know. I don't have any. I want to keep making things. I would like to hang monkeys in the Guggenheim. I would like to. That's a fantasy. I would love to hang my barrel of monkeys in the Guggenheim. I made original barrel of monkeys. I made them out of bronze, and they're all different. And there's little boy monkeys and little girl monkeys and little they monkeys with no monkey junk. And I would like to hang them from the ceiling to the floor in the Guggenheim, all the way into a barrel in the middle of the floor in the Guggenheim in New York City. I would love to do that, but that's just a fantasy, and maybe someday it will happen. Maybe it won't. But if I keep asking people if I can do it, maybe someone will let me. I would like to hang monkeys from the floor to ceiling in the Fieldhouse Museum someday.
I'm sure our ceilings are a lot shorter than the Guggenheim's.
I know, but it doesn't matter. It's really impressive to see the monkeys going all the way from the ceiling down into a barrel on the floor. It's impressive.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. It does sound. So you created the Kickstarter for to create Teeny Ted into I guess not a much larger size book.
Yeah, I made a large print edition, which is available at the Fieldhouse Museum bookstore.
Yeah, and so I guess do you have any other Kickstarters about going, or?
No.
Okay. Oh, now I remember what I was going to ask is
I don't.
The 12 I'm working on. How are you going to get it out the door, or out a door? Or is it just going to stay where it is?
It's 12 feet long, but it's not 12 feet wide. It fits through a door. You can get it in and out of a man-sized door. I'm going to swim it. I'm going to swim it right out the door. I'm going to swim it around the corner. I'll get a friend to help me carry it. I'll take the front and he'll take the back end, and we'll swim it out of the door and swim around the corner, and we'll swim down the stairs with it, and we'll swim it into the back of a truck and take it to a bronze foundry and cast it in bronze. Maybe if I'm lucky.
How does maybe cast it in bronze? How do you go about how would you then, I guess, take that and turn it into a cast of bronze? Do you put it in like wax, silicone? Because I know you create a mold of some kind.
Yeah.
Or is that not how
you bring the original sculpture that's called the model to the caster, to the foundry, and then they make a silicone rubber mold on it, and then they peel the silicone rubber mold off and they back that with something solid. Then they pour wax into the silicone impression, and then wax hardens up. They cast that, and then they weld the pieces of, like, they cast it, so they take that wax that is the same shape and same detail as the sculpture, because it got poured in the mold. They take that out, and then they cast those pieces of wax into bronze, and then they weld them together into your sculpture on a big thing.
Okay, wow. Sounds very labor intensive.
And then there's grinding and metal finishing and polishing and patinaing and all the other stuff that goes into it afterwards. And then you wax it.
Okay. Well, we are about out of time. Real quickly, could you share with us your favorite joke? If there's like a corny joke that you really like or anything.
Oh no, I can't share my favorite joke with you. This like, kids might see this. Okay, knock knock.
Wait, who's there?
Knock knock. Knock knock.
Knock knock.
Say
Okay,
who's
knock
there.
knock.
No, I say knock knock.
Who's
You
there?
say who's there. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Cows.
Cows who?
Cows moo. Knock knock.
Who's there?
Owls.
Cows. Owls? Owls who?
Exactly.
Oh. Okay. Well,
That's
thank
safe.
you for. I like that one.
Yeah, it's cute. My nephew thought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you everyone on Facebook for joining us as well. The Fieldhouse Museum is open 10 to 4 Wednesday through Saturday and noon to 4 on Sundays. And you can see the information about Teeny Ted in our like miniature exhibit.
You can get a copy of the book at the Fieldhouse Museum bookshop. Teeny Ted from Turnip Town.
Yeah.
It's
You get a
science.
copy of the book too.
It's science.
Our exhibit is open until March 7th. And again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.